Hey, welcome to the show where business gets to be easier. I'm your host, Haley Bree, an 8-figure founder turned human design strategist, here to prove to you that real business growth doesn't have to come with anxiety. Make sure to check out the show notes description for a link to a free app I created that is a community of deep thinking entrepreneurs. Would love for you to be a part of it. Thank you so much for being here. Lyrik, welcome. So glad we are doing this. I think we have known each other for at least 4 years now, 5 years
Sure.
or so. You've been a recurring profit client, one of the OGs from way back in the day. And now you're a 7-figure tech photography, just like everything. It's like you have this media, you have this tech side, you have all these branches of your business that have come together in such a beautiful way. And it's been really amazing to watch you grow, but like not just grow, thrive.
Love so much that I was like an OG recurring profit member because I tell everyone, I'm like, so this program doesn't exist anymore. But like, just so you know, it taught me everything that I needed to know about business. And like, I'm sorry, I can't like give that to you. But if you want, you can go speak to my friend Haley.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I know people still say that they go back to it all the time, and it makes me so happy because it is truly my baby. So yeah, it feels really good. Okay, so tell me a little bit about your business for people that don't know, and then we're going to get into the easy button. But yeah, tell us all about your business.
Yeah. So I have one main business, which is WorkPlay Branding. I'm the CEO, I'm the co founder of that business. We have it's basically a visual marketing company. We create quarterly visual campaigns for our members. And we do it all over the world. So we've scaled out this team to Australia, Canada, the US, and Europe. And we do hundreds of brand shoots, photo and video all over the world every single month for entrepreneurs. That brand has really grown. It's really scaled out. I love that brand so much. Creating WorkPlay Branding. We've also gone on to create other brands like Gloss Up. It's an on-demand makeup service company, which, as you know, scales much like WorkPlay Branding, but it is
Yeah.
such a good complement to WorkPlay Branding since everyone needs their makeup done for their shoots. We launched it at the beginning of this year and it's been going great. And then I'm also building a tech company in the background to help fuel WorkPlay Branding as well as Gloss Up. And that hasn't been launched yet. It's in development mode, but that one's going to be a big one as well. And then I am also a partner at my fiance's wellness brand and chiropractic clinic. And he is launching that in Miami. So there are a lot of things happening in the business side in my world.
Yeah. It is amazing how you move. And let me tell you, I just completed a WorkPlay branding shoot. And that's what everyone calls them in the industry. Like, oh, you did a WorkPlay branding shoot. It's always, oh, it's that big. It's
Yeah.
it's really awesome because the whole experience, first of all, is so freaking easy. But second, the photos you get. I got over 1,000 quality, insanely perfect photos from exactly what I was needing. I stress about photos. I do not like photo shoots. I love being in front of the camera. Photo shoots stress me out because I'm like, as a woman, how do I look? Blah, blah. It's like, okay, self-confidence. I need to work on that. But also, it's just draining. But I felt so energized by the end of the shoot. And then also the photos that came back. I mean, it was so easy to complete my whole new personal brand. You don't get that or at least from my experience, when you work with other photographers, you might get 30 to 50 high quality photos, not over 1,000. And as entrepreneurs, we can't use the same 20 photos over and over again. You can, but if you're a personal brand or you're in the industry, you do need to switch it up. And so it's just really, really nice. I would definitely encourage you guys to check it out. Your human design has been the easy button in your business. Like, you've operated in it very naturally without even knowing your human design. But I think that some people fight it and they have resistance towards their actual design. And I've seen this with like my private equity firm deals and then my mastermind. You were in the mastermind. Like, I've seen so many different entrepreneurs, but you truly, and I don't know if it's an age thing too, because I do think that when you're in your 20s, you don't use your brain as much and that works to your advantage. Really, because you're not, I mean, you are taught, oh, you should do this, but you're not exposed to as many shoulds in your 20s. At least I feel like this when I was in my 20s. I got to 6 million so quickly. And I really did listen to my easy button, my human design, without even knowing human design. I think I've seen you do this really, really well. So I kind of want to dissect your business and how it fits in your human design and what the easy buttons have been.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, just to like kind of piggyback off of what you're describing, I think for me, I've always been a very energetic type of person in the way that I make decisions, and it's always been very intuitive and also a very self-aware person and always trying to be more self-aware. When I start to feel something that typically pulls me or resists me, or I really listen to how I feel. And I don't, maybe this is, well, you're saying this is a part of your human design, but for me, if I'm not feeling really good in the moment, like in my everyday life, I start to feel like I'm like, something's wrong. I'm doing something wrong here. And just getting like very quick at that in terms of like, well, I didn't like that. I'm never doing that again. Like,
Right.
it's like, or I'm refining and like I'm trimming. Like, I'm not doing that one thing again. I might do this idea again, but I'm not doing it like that again. And I think I've
Right.
been really quick to notice that in myself.
I think you have too, and I've seen that, and you don't shame yourself. I
Mm,
think that a
mm,
lot of people, entrepreneurs, have a lot of shame, and that's been definitely weighing them down. Like they would have that and say, "Oh, I'm bad at this." Like they would use it as fuel to, talk down to themselves. I think
absolutely.
that if I look across your human design chart, your business, and your goals as three different things, I mean, being your friend, I've heard your goals of wealth, of okay, this is I mean, what are your goals now? I'm sure they've actually changed. So why don't we actually start there? Because I don't even want to say them because I'm sure they've changed. What are your wealth goals in terms of when you're wanting to actually, let's say, retire? And I put that in quotation marks because I feel like Lyrik and I will never retire. But let's talk wealth first.
I know. Retiring doesn't even compute in my head because I just see everything as this fun, creative project. And I could never
Yes.
stop having fun, creative projects in my life, regardless if they make me money or not. But as far as my goal, it's interesting because I don't have a goal around money because it almost feels like it limits me of what the possibilities are. And I tend to have a really hard time with like monetary goals. I have a vision for workplay for sure. And it really comes around accessibility to this level of production that you can have in your business for such a low cost and to have it everywhere. I want thousands and thousands of entrepreneurs to know that this exists and to be using it as a tool. So I think my goal is more about what is the level of impact that workplay branding can have in the marketplace. And through that impact, I mean, thousands and thousands, I mean, the company's valuation shoots up to like the 100 millions. And so, especially with the tech platform. So, if we do want to put like a monetary goal around that, we can. But really, my goal is like thousands of entrepreneurs every single year are using this as a tool and they've got a creative team in their back pocket that doesn't cost them thousands and not only thousands but like where this is happening every single English speaking country where these entrepreneurs are and residing. I want workplace to be there and to be accessible to them. So I would, from a goal perspective, that's really where my focus is.
I love that. I think every entrepreneur has something that excites them. So, for instance, and I think this comes back to our human design in a way too, because I'll say, me as a 5-1, my unconscious line is safety. So, I thrive when I feel like the ground beneath me is super stable. So, in my head, I think, well, no matter what, I know I can pull $10,000 a month from assets that don't depend on me. That feels really good, right? That excites me because then I know I can go never have to think about money again and I can go do all the creative projects I want. Okay, now we're going to switch to Lyric. What excites her it's very different in terms of what feels stable to her. It's the impact, the idea, what the community looks like within workplace branding, which is that unconscious line four, that she can use her line two, her skill set, and be in her hermit creative mode for as long as she wants. So I think everyone has something that excites them. So let's start there. What excites you? Now we're going to go the how to get there. That's where we can keep pushing the easy buttons or decide to ignore them. So if we are going to start at maybe the beginning of workplace branding, I mean, your generator, right? So, how you actually move through, how have you been able to know what actually lights you up and what is worth responding to as a generator? Because you have so much freaking energy. I mean, generators, I like to compare them to wild workhorses, but emphasize the wild part of things because they are people naturally see that they're workhorses and someone can see Lyrik and go, oh yeah, I want to work with her because they see how much energy she has. But workhorses are not meant to just have something dumped on them and then they just carry it for someone else, right? So we have to be really careful and filter who we're working with, but also making sure that what we are carrying actually lights us up. Otherwise, the horse just doesn't want to move. And Lyrik has been a galloping stallion for years on years on years. She is doing something right in terms of she is following what is actually is lighting her up, which sounds harder than it actually is when you get into the messiness of life. So can you tell me how you have actually done that in business?
Absolutely. And it's an ongoing thing for me. It's something that I constantly have to almost like whip myself into shape,
Yeah.
for lack of a better word. And I think actually, if we go back to this last example that you just took me through, where you were almost saying, having this security around money. And it was almost reflecting back to me of like, oh my God, I really don't have that same need as
That's
Haley
so
does
interesting.
as she's saying this, because for me, just what you just pointed out to me was the fact that like I'm so much more focused on like the scale at which workplay is affecting people in general. And through that, I know that the money is coming, but in my day to day life, I actually don't focus on that at all. And as much as I want to have $100 million company. I want to have a big exit. It's actually not the focus. And for me in my day to day, and I think being really self aware, and this whole conversation is just making me aware of that fact. And I'm going to get to my point in a second, but just being so self aware that that is the thing. And that's not necessarily that's not necessarily what someone else also has. So when you're getting these marketing messages to you, and we're constantly getting them every single day, like when we go onto social media, everyone has to have a point of view. They have to be speaking to someone. So when they're speaking with such conviction of this is the right thing to do. This is the
Yeah.
only way to get to your desire. And that's a marketing thing, right? And I think that always, even as I was building workplace branding, that was always so confusing to me because I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, this is the right way. And this is how I need to build wealth, or this is how I need to create the impact, or I need to even be focused on this versus this. And I think as I've gotten more self aware, I've gotten my own system of filtering the messages that I know are going to serve me. And so I think this is applicable to a lot of people because when you go on the internet and you see all of these messages being thrown at you, I think when workplay really started to pop off, like really scale ridiculously month after month after month, I realized that a lot of those decisions were made by me and me alone. And there was no golden ticket that was saving me or making that possible. It was a combination of how I bring together all of these like things that I know to be true or that work for me in the way that I work. So hopefully that makes sense. But you just pointed that out. It was very blatant to me when you just said, what makes you safe and then what makes me safe, because I'm like, oh gosh, like that happens so much throughout building WorkPlay Branding where I was so unsure of like if my decision was the correct decision. And so I think what I've done is whenever I make a decision or whenever I have an idea and make a decision on that idea, I have to be so excited. Like it really comes down to the feeling I get, not necessarily is this profitable? I usually layer that in later, but it's like I don't think about is this profitable? I think about it from the standpoint of what impact is this making in the world? How are people going to view it and view me or view the brand when I make this decision? And once I started listening to that, the profitability came, the people came, the ideas flowed in bigger ways. And I think being thrown messages of like, you got to look at your margin here and and it's like those matter, yes, but I don't make decisions based off of that. I figure that piece out later. And so learning that about myself, I realized that like my creativity and how I think about it when it comes to impacting people and how they view the brand actually is my superpower that I bring to the table. And so putting my superpower at the forefront of creative ideas has been the biggest unlock for me and being like, okay, the rules of business still apply, but you don't have to start there. And so I do that all the time now with like helping my fiance build his wellness studio and understanding even what hat I wear and understanding my boundary there. That's been a constant, that's like a day to day decision for me because I could really step in, right? Because I have all of these different operational experiences with workplay. I understand branding and how it relates to systems, and I could just take over. But it's been really interesting to only use my superpower in certain ways. And I think that that's come from just learning really in hard ways through workplay branding where I need to be versus where I don't need to be as well.
That makes so much sense. When you were talking, I just kept hearing this is the way business is done when you lead by your body instead of your
Mhm.
brain. And I do think that our brains just get way too involved in business. And this goes back to why do our brains get involved? Because we don't feel safe in some way. If we are prioritizing a cozy nervous system, and that looks different for everyone. For me, like I said, it is and that's why, when I first started my business, that's why I had a membership site with recurring income. That monthly recurring income, I was able to turn my brain off and then boom, got to 500,000 in 6 months. It's what makes your nervous system feel cozy.
Okay, I just had an unlock as you were talking.
Yeah.
Because I think that I am only safe in my creativity because I went through recurring profit, because I have recurring revenue every single month. I'm able to make creative decisions without the fear of money. I actually think that when I'm saying these things, there needs to be context to it because I do have that recurring income because I've set up workplay branding in the way that you've taught me.
Yeah.
So, like, your superpower of, like, money and safety, like, thank God you shared that with the world because I do think that's also just that's a human thing. Like, even if you are creative, it's like there's a human thing of safety and having the means to be able to comfortably sit every day and choose what you want to do. But there were many points in growing workplay branding where I couldn't do that honestly before I went through recurring profit.
Yeah, let's go through that because what if someone's in that boat right now? Before you had the recurring income, before you went through recurring profit, which by the way, for everyone listening, I'm not selling recurring profit. That is no longer available. I am so sorry to say that. I do not sell that anymore, but I do have a lot of business things that you can buy if you want that can talk about something similar if you need that. It'll just be more custom to you now based off your human design. DM me on Instagram or whatever and we can chat it through. I just don't want anyone to think they can buy this program. But let's say before you did that, because we do need cozy nervous systems. And I still do think that your nervous system, I think a human, yes, as a human, you need recurring income or not that fear of money, but as a generator, What lit you up that steered you in the right direction?
In terms of before I had recurring income,
Right, correct, yeah.
you know what? It's funny because it was still the creativity. It
Yeah,
wasn't necessarily the money. And I think I got, I had a bartending job before I went full time with WorkPlay. And it wasn't soon after that I learned about MRR through you. So the time in between learning about that and, having unstable workplay income was very short. But even before I went full time, I had a second job. I had that base. So I actually think that, like, because that was
you had it
handled,
covered.
I was covered, I was still able to lead creatively. I do think that even now, I don't like being in the finances. It scares me, it drains me. I'm very like, I set up systems around my finances so I don't have to be in them because I think from a nervous system standpoint, I get like, and then I can't, it sucks my creative energy. So I think I also have the privilege of having a co-founder who can pick up things that I don't necessarily want to do, but I'm also the systems person. So I am in there and I am creating creative systems for finances that work really well for me. But I think even from that standpoint, I still come from this creativity piece of it. And then does the idea feel really good? Like, do I have motivation to sit down and work on it for 12 hours a day? And which is, I don't know if there are other human design.
That's a
um,
generator thing for
okay.
sure.
I was like,
Because for me, I could never do that.
okay.
But yeah, as a projector, absolutely not. But you generators, you guys can just go and go because you are that train. As if you're lit up, you can keep going. You don't even
Yeah.
need a lot of sleep. You're just
Yeah.
there. I think that
Exactly.
the easy button in this scenario is that what was leading the movement was our conscious line in human design. Because if I go back to you, what was leading was that line two. So, line two is you are naturally gifted at something in life, basically, as a line two. And yours is creativity. I could hone in on all the specifics, but I don't think that's what's helpful for this episode. But line two, your creativity, that is your skill. And you were leading with that. For me, my conscious line is a five. So it is what problem am I solving for a collective group of people? So I am leading with that. When I did my membership, I had so many people asking me questions. I saw the common thread. I solved the problem with the product. Boom, got to 500,000. What I was leading with my conscious line naturally, you were leading with creativity. And neither of us were really setting revenue goals. I did, but I wasn't attached to them. I wasn't attached to the money at all. It was a game. And I think when you lead with your conscious line, it truly does feel more like a game. It feels more like a personal playground. But what everyone leads with is different. So everyone's easy button is different. But for Lyrik, it was her skill. And for me, it was solving a problem for the collective. Now, okay, so this is how Lyrik got into their recurring income, is what she was leading with. And now, if we go into the business decision part of it, Lyrik is a 2-4 sacral generator. So, sacral is her authority in human design. So, that's basically your decision making strategy. That is the fastest. It is like cheetah decision mode, basically. That is what the sacral is. And can make decisions so freaking fast. It's her gut. So, for instance, for me, and I'm just doing this for contrast so people can see the difference, with my authority as a G center, which means I don't need to be trusting my gut. But Lyrik does need to trust her gut. What doesn't apply to Lyrik for common decision making advice is don't make a pros and cons list. Literally shut your brain off. Don't wait on it. Don't see how you feel about it. Doesn't matter how you feel about it. It's what does your gut say? And if you can turn, it's almost like a green and red light system. An assembly line of decisions coming your way. And then if a green lights up, you just take it off the assembly line. You don't think two thoughts about it. Your body knows the answer. So it's just very fast. How have you
You
been able to use that in business?
Yeah, what's so funny is I
Yeah.
was just on a panel speaking and they asked this question, how do you make decisions like disruptive or innovative decisions? And I told them, I go to Tulum like 2 to 4 times a year. I sit on the beach, I have downloads, I have ideas, and then I execute them. I don't think about if it's a good idea or not. I already know that it's a good idea. I don't need someone to tell me if it's a good idea. I'm like, I'm already I've already done 50% of the head work, mind work to execute this idea, just sitting on the beach doing nothing. And so you saying this makes so much sense because I was like, you guys, this is not going, I don't know if you guys are going to get anything out of this answer, but I'm going to be honest with you. I go to the beach, I turn my brain off, I don't open the laptop, I make a decision, I create an idea, and then I go and execute it. And I am not looking back. There is no friction. It's like, bam. And I'm like, I don't know if that's helpful for any of you guys, but that's just how I do it. And so it truly, it comes from feeling good. And I think the whole concept around going to Tulum is I actually have to change my environment to be like, I need things catered to me. I need to not be thinking about the day to day stresses, which is why I get my best ideas on vacation and I actually schedule in the vacation. I feel when my ideas are not smooth in terms of they're not coming at me in a smooth way. My decision making isn't smooth. I'm not getting the answer right away. I know that I need a freaking break. I need to go to the beach. That's why honestly I live in Miami because it is constantly warm here. There is constant creative energy here and I can go zone out at the beach whenever I want. And that's what I replicate in Tulum, but it's also why I live in Miami too because I actually need that comfortability in order to have these creative decisions. And so I'm like, as I'm speaking, I'm like, oh my God, my whole life is making sense right now. I'm like, it's the reason why I needed my apartment to face the water, and I was so adamant about having like a full water view on Biscayne Bay because I'm like, I need to wake up with that energy so I have clarity when I'm making decisions. And so I don't know if that's like, I mean, it's not a tangible answer at all in any way, but it makes sense to me because I'm like, I can't have like the day to day and like bogging me down. Like, I'm the person, this sounds bad, but I'm like the person that needs the house cleaner, the house manager, the dog walker, because I want to choose to do those things. I don't want to be obligated to do those things. And I think that also translates into business. Like, I want to choose to do the creative project. I don't want to be obligated to then, like, keep the maintenance up of it or whatever it is. Like, I want to spearhead. And I don't know if that's very visionary of me.
Well, how have you been able to create a business that doesn't require your obligation on everything?
A COO and being very systematic. I am a systems person through and through because
You truly are.
I can create a system out of anything. So I like things done in a certain way and I like things done in a certain order at a certain quality. And so when it comes to even creating workplay, I'm very unreasonable in those standards as well. So with workplay, I want this to be extremely cost effective. In fact, a tenth of what the market currently markets this service at. But I also want it to be at the highest quality you can possibly get in the market. Technically, those two things should cancel out. But because I am stubborn and because I want things in a certain way, I can systemize myself getting there. And so, what I do is I create systems for everything in my life and everything in my business. So when I have a big vision or I have a big idea, my first thought is what does this look like in the world? And then I go back and I take a step back. I'm like, okay, that feels really good. The vision feels good. I could see the impact. It's real in my head. Then I go into system mode and I go into what are the steps to making this happen in the way I want it to happen. And I spearhead that. That is part of my skill set of systems. I then hand it off to someone to then execute that system. And for me, that's what whenever I think about business or starting a new business or starting a new creative idea, that's all I think about is like, what's the vision? Then what's the system? And then who's the person I need to hand that off to work that system? And then I get to sit back and say, is this working or is this not? and I get to see it in action. But whenever I'm the one actually doing it, it actually works against me.
Yes. I think this is such a beautiful way that generators tend to struggle with like hopping off the train because I mean, the whole goal of business, right, is not that you're just moving to different trains. You have to keep some of these trains moving. It's just you don't want to be the, what do you call the train person that runs the train? You
Oh,
get
yeah,
it.
like the conductor.
The conductor. Yeah, you don't want to be the conductor of all the trains. I think generators get caught up in that because people just say they're so used to doing. Doing feels safe to them instead of the process of having the train moving and then hopping trains. I think you have mastered the art of this perfectly. And I think someone that is a quality control freak, which we all can relate to as entrepreneurs, I think, especially around our creativity, is like we have standards that are high quality standards, you know? It's
Mhm,
like you have such
absolutely.
done such a beautiful job. So if you're a generator and you're sitting there going, "Okay, I want to still make money. This train has made me money. I had a business idea for, let's say, web design clients, right? Okay, but now my excitement is dwindling. Yeah, I'm not feeling that excited. I'm not feeling lit up. How else am I going to make money?" It's like, okay, well, how can we keep this train moving that doesn't rely on you and then you can go hop to another train or wait for the next beam of light to excite you. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you know what's funny? Just to bring it full circle back to the original kind of thing and season that I'm going into when it comes to relationships, this is a new business thing for me because I have been in the weeds of work play and like building these systems, building these trains. And I'm almost building a new train for my relationships right now and how I navigate those. And I think that's where I struggle because I'm like, well, I'm such a delegator and I'm such a like a systems person. And I try and find the system in everything. And sometimes the systems of relationships is it's like people are not robots, right? And sometimes it's hard to create a system for that. But I actually think what I have done in a nice way, and I haven't mastered this yet in this arena, but I've actually had people in my circle go build the relationships for me and bring the deals or the relationship to me because sometimes, and I don't know if that's a protection mechanism because I go too fast in the relationship. So it's almost like having someone to vet that person for me is actually really been actually very helpful in that. I think it's only when I don't have that gatekeeper for me. I'm like, oh my God, I love you so much. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, the boundaries are a little blurry. And so I'm just processing in real time on your podcast. Hopefully that's okay. But yeah, it's like almost like having a system that someone else is executing with the relationships to bring and vet for me almost feels even
Yeah, absolutely. Because they already know your standards. They already know
right.
you, and they're just
Right.
going out. Yeah, I mean, the line 4s work in circles. So you guys have a circular pattern, whereas for me, like, I work in more of, like, a megaphone pattern. I mean, even getting into so, like, my partner has a line 4, he's a 4-6, but he
Okay.
thinks in terms of our pack, our community, whereas I think of our family as a collective, one-on-one, like, when I was a single mom, just Keen and I, it was draining, not because the single mom part, but because of the one-on-one. It's like, ugh,
Mhm.
I thrive best when it feels like a collective. So going from 1 to 4 boys, people are like, "How did you do it?" I'm like, "No, it's so much easier because
Right.
it's a collective." And it just I don't know, it just makes more sense to me energetically.
Yeah.
And I still love having one-on-one time with my son, obviously, but it is different when it's 1 to 4. So, for you, in business, you work in circles, in community, in packs. So, it's like, yeah, your packs can go bring a new pack to you, but it is that circular pattern for sure.
Absolutely. And I feel like I even think in that way, maybe without even realizing, like you're saying, because I actually do think in a circle because I'm constantly thinking about like, oh, well, I have my like little group over here that I'm like, oh, that's this group. And then sometimes they blend over here, but I almost see it as a Venn diagram.
Yeah.
And then, like, you add another circle, and then you've got the people that are in all three circles, which again, I'm sorry, I'm processing in real time on your podcast. But I almost feel like to me, it's like the people that blend in all of my circles tend to be my favorite people that I tend to like gravitate towards and pour the most energy into. And for example, like let's just take you for example. I hear your name in all of my circles at least
Oh.
one time, all good, of course. And I just like proves to me that, like, okay, if I was to look at all of my people in a Venn diagram and all of the circles that I'm a part of, or I see, or, I like to be a part of, the people that overlap and honestly, more than two or three of those tend to be my people. I'm just realizing this now.
Yeah, that's a really interesting. Line fours do think in Venn diagrams. Oh my
Mm.
god, I can think of so many visuals, especially
Oh
in
my
terms of
gosh.
marketing and sales.
And I almost feel like I could use that as a filter as well to say, like, is this person overlapping in here and here? Because I if I look at it like a circle, all of those circles that I'm a part of have different values and ways of moving that I might identify with. And so I almost feel like the people who are overlapping, I can see in other circles, like almost are like, okay, this is like you're a true reflection of all of my hodgepodge of values in another person. So
Mhm.
that could also be an interesting filter for me if like I'm only seeing this person in one circle. They might only have one value piece that I hold dear that I don't even know. It might be subconscious. But if I see them in another and another, that could be my filtration system in a way. And that
Yeah,
does take time to prove and to know and to feel into too. Oh
completely, completely.
my
But I think that is really cool.
god.
It's so foreign to me because I do not think like that at all. I think
Well,
it's so cool how unique everyone is, you know?
I know, but you're giving me the tools. This is what you do. You just like present these ideas, and I'm like, "Oh, clarity, got it."
I'm
Good.
so glad. It has definitely made me realize as a I don't even know if I like to call myself a business coach for 10 years, but whatever I was. I was definitely projecting my way of doing things onto people for sure. For sure. Because I was like, well, why can't everyone do it like this? It's like, well, not everyone is meant to. That's why I'm excited because I came back like, no, there's going to be a new era of entrepreneurship. We are not going to be exhausted. We're not going to be depleted. We're not going to be looking around going, why do I feel like I have just been drained dry? My soul is sucked. I came here for freedom and this is not it. And it's like with that, it's like, okay, we have to be done with projecting business advice then. Done. It's like we're evolving past that as entrepreneurs. And even seeing you, it's like, okay, yeah, your business goes in circles. You're going to market in circles. You're going to sell in circles. You're going to do business deals in circles. I don't. I use megaphone magnets. That's how I do things. That's my dynamic. But not everyone is a megaphone magnet. You're a circle scaler. So there's all these different analogies for all the different types. But this is why I'm so excited about human design.
Well, this is why you're so good at it though too, because be empowering people to think like this. I mean, just even from this episode, I feel like I've gotten so much clarity on that. And I'm gonna take that clarity and just amplify it. I just know I am because now I have like a very specific mechanism. And again, I don't know if this is just me, because I don't obviously want to project onto any of your listeners. But when I have a system, I then amplify the system. I think even going back to full circle, my original question, I think I have the answer, right? It's like, this is my filtration, my protection, my way of thinking about how I'm doing it. Because I think that's also a part of business. So much can be so in your head and you're not even realizing what you're doing it until you're doing it. And so, in order to amplify something, you have to recognize what you're doing. And I think just this recognition piece and putting even like a visual to it in my head, I'm like, oh my gosh, I know how to go into, my fiance's wellness studio and I know where my impact is. Even if I was to invest in a brand, I would know exactly how I would do that and what value I would bring. And it is this circle piece and amplifying that. It's so interesting to me.
Mhm, mhm. And just working with the dynamics of the way your cells are designed to thrive. It's like your cells thrive in a circular environment. So
Mhm.
why not put yourself in all the circles that feel good? And then your cells
Absolutely.
are gonna light up, everything's gonna be easy, it's all gonna come to you. And I think that sounds so crazy to some people, but I would definitely encourage everyone listening to just try it out. And maybe that means getting your human design chart read. I'm not sure, but whatever that looks like for you, know that there is an easy button that does exist. And I think
Mhm.
Lyrik is a perfect example of this, how she was able to use the easy button in terms of doing what lights her up, built her an entire ecosystem. She did not think through, oh, this is the way my tech company is going to help this in this specific way and this. It's like she didn't create some perfect vision and then just checked off task list, right? That was her brain was not involved. That is the way good business is done. And I could like have so many examples of this, but this is the easy button in business. And I hope this has at least helped you in some way see that there are easy buttons in your business, or if you relate to some of her human design, if you relate to her business model, hopefully your eyes and your mind is a little bit more open and excited and some creative ideas are flowing.
If your mind isn't, mine is. So thank you, Haley. I mean, I have really clear clarity on everything. Even, sorry, I have to go on to this tangent.
Do
Even
it.
Even how I've built Gloss Up to interact with WorkPlay to feed WorkPlay and the tech to feed WorkPlay and then also feed Gloss Up, they are overlapping circular things. They have ways where they overlap and feed each other. And that makes a lot of sense to me. And I now have clarity on why that even makes sense to me because I like to work in these circles and I like things feeding one another. And I like when it is all connected so that I don't have to work so hard on pushing the train forward. It's almost like the businesses now at this higher level are pushing each other forward because they're feeding each other. So from each level, I think of business and each of my companies are at different levels. I understand how this is all working together now. 100%.
Good, good.
Yeah. Oh my
I
God.
think it's been amazing the ecosystem and web you have created because I think that business owners tend to think very linearly instead, but humans aren't linear. I mean, if you just look at the way our energy moves, I mean, even going down to the roots of quantum physics, like we are not linear beings. And so if you can create with a spark, with a spark, with a spark, based off Lyric's chart, not everyone is meant to create like this, but she's like, okay, spark, create, spark, create, spark, create. And then this ecosystem has created that all feeds each other. And if you look at, for instance, my ecosystem, it started feeding each other. It was what problem can I solve? Feeds another problem that I can solve, feeds another problem that I can solve. And then it all feeds each other based off of this ecosystem that I created in my private equity firm.
Amazing. Huge.
Yeah.
So cool.
Thank you, Lyric, so much for showing up, being here, and letting us have a peek into your business and how you've been able to use your easy buttons with your human design chart.
Thank you so much for having me. And thank you for all of the clarity and knowledge just from this episode that you've given me.
I'm so glad. Real quick, I'm bringing together a community of deep thinking entrepreneurs, and I would love for you to be a part of it inside of my free app called In Overflow. You can find it on the Apple Store, Google Play, or the show notes description of this episode. Here's the thing, I believe we have outgrown the grind, we have outgrown survival mode, and the next step of humanity is happiness. And I'm not talking about happiness as a luxury. I'm talking about happiness as the baseline that you as an entrepreneur are operating your life and your business from. So if you're like, yes, Haley, I want to be a part of the book club, the deep discussions in the community. I want to be on Zoom calls with you about creating this type of peace, fulfillment, and balanced nervous system. And I want to have higher capacity for joy. Amazing. That is what we are going over. We are bringing in neuroscience. We are bringing in quantum physics. We are bringing in human design, and we are bringing in modern and ancient wisdom to create the kinds of lives that we absolutely adore and love and wake up energized to. Again, it is absolutely free. Come be a part of this. Come join us. We cannot wait to welcome you into our group.